Okay, so we're ready to start, and we apologize that we're a little bit late here. We had a BOCES annual meeting, and then switching with all this technology has taken a little longer than expected because I was supposed to do something, and then technology and I don't agree. So if you're out there, the first thing we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about modifications we are making to our reopening plan document, the document that we adopted back in August of 2020. And the purpose of making these modifications to the reopening plan document is to meet the new guidelines that have been established by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and we're also established by the New York State Department of Health last Friday night. So if you have any questions on this reopening plan modifications that we're going to chat about here, please email me at jplows@brookfieldcsd.org. So it's jplows@brookfieldcsd.org. And I'll read your email and we'll try to address your questions. I suppose, I'm not really sure, I don't know if you could use the chat room on the Zoom link that's up there right now, but maybe it's best if we just use the email. So jplows@brookfieldcsd.org. Okay, here we go. So last Friday, as I said, the New York State Department of Health amended their guidelines for basically how school districts operate during this pandemic to conform to the recent guidelines that were issued, I believe nearly a month ago by the Center for Disease Control. And when we look at these guidelines, the new guidelines essentially allow us to change from our hybrid learning model that we have been using since September, where basically about half of our students come in on alternate days. It basically allows us to change from that to bring all of our students from the hybrid model into the building every single day of the week. And obviously, if we can pull that off, and we can, that is a good thing for our students and for our families, we believe. So, well, I think we've reached out to all the families and anybody who was on our hybrid model of learning was able to say, yes, we want to come back to in-person 5 days a week. And then we looked to see if we have room for more students, and we did. So students who were on 100% remote learning, if they or their families wanted them to return to the building 5 days a week, we were able to offer them that opportunity also. So our goal is for this to start this Friday morning, where all of our students will be coming into the building 5 days a week. So here's some things that we've had to change the way we operate in order to make this work. First, the requirements. Number one, the biggest factor here is the change from students sitting at their desk that have been required to be 6 feet apart to the new model, the new guidelines that allow for the students to be as close as 3 feet apart. So obviously that 3 feet apart increases the capacity that every room in our building will hold, number of students that it will hold. So over this last break, we were preparing for this, and our buildings and grounds staff rearranged all of our rooms and to a 3-foot distancing scenario. And they also had to take some classrooms and relocate them to different classrooms simply because students in that class would not fit in the small classroom they're in. So for this to continue, the state has also issued some guidelines, and they say that one thing that has to continue is the rate of the community transmission of the virus. So the rate of the virus transmission in the community has to be low. And when they mean low, they also gave 3 specific different tiers. And if it moves from one tier to another, we have to change the way we do things. And when the state looks at community, they define community by the rate of transmission in the county. We will also continue to look at the rate of transmission of the virus, not only in the county, but in our township and also in our neighboring townships. Because experience has shown us that when the rate of transmission in our township increases, or even in the neighboring townships starts to increase, that puts our students in our Brookfield school community members at a higher level of risk. So as we move forward, we will not only monitor with the county's rate of transmission, but we will also keep an eye on our community and our neighboring community. If it's determined that using our metrics, the likelihood of transmission or the risk of transmission in the school building gets to an unacceptable level, we will revert to the hybrid model or to the complete remote learning model, whichever makes sense at the time. So I guess in summary, we will monitor the local health conditions, and as the local health conditions change, we will react to that, as we did back in January when we extended our remote learning timeline. Okay, so what are we going to do? So we believe we meet the current guidelines by the New York State Department of Health, where we have organized the classrooms for the students to be in the classrooms 3 feet apart during the school day. The students will continue to be grouped in groups and cohorts. So if we look at first grade will move through the building when they move together all day long. 10th graders, if they move from classrooms, they will move together all day long. You won't see a group of 10th graders taking physical education with a group of 9th graders. They'll take physical education together, just as we've been doing since September. So there are instances where the 3-foot rule does not apply. In certain cases, the guidance say students still have to be 6 feet apart. Here's the cases or the situations that applies to Brookfield Central Schools. Adults and I need to back up. Students and all the adults in the building wear our mask all day long. So we will continue that. Everybody, students and adults, get mask breaks occasionally. If somebody's sitting in an office by themselves, they take their mask off. I do, other people do. But students, that's the focus of this plan, periodically their teachers have been giving them mask breaks. And it's been working. I gotta say this, I really should have said this up front. The families and the students have just been terrific throughout this whole public health crisis. Our students have just really been terrific. I gotta be honest with you, I never see any of them complaining about having to wear masks. I think they adapted to it much more easier than most adults did. So students and adults wear masks all day long. Adults and students have to make a real hard effort and do a good job of keeping 6 feet apart. And the guidelines say adults and students need to stay 6 feet apart. And the reason is the science is telling us that it's easier for an adult to transmit this virus than it is for a student to transmit this virus. So they're telling us adults, stay 6 feet away from the students. Now, in the guidance, there's exceptions to that rule. For example, if a student needs help, obviously a teacher goes over and helps them at their desk, and they're only maybe inches or a foot apart or whatever. So there are exceptions to that, but when we look at the exceptions, we have to think about how does this virus spread? And the virus principally spreads through the air, and it takes time for the virus to infect another person. So if we just stand next to a student or help a student at a desk for 5 minutes or 2 minutes, then that student, if we were positive, likely would not be infected because there wasn't enough time spent for that viral load to transfer to the student. We also have to keep in mind that I think, if not all, the vast majority of the people who work in this building have been vaccinated. So all these mass vaccinations, ventilations, these are all layers of protection that make it safer in our school building every single day. In addition, students are required to have their mask on and have 6 feet between them in common areas. The requirement for physical education used to be they had to stay 12 feet apart. That has now changed in these new guidelines, and in physical education, they're allowed to be 6 feet apart with mask on. Okay, I think that kind of hits on the 6 foot requirement. Excuse me, again, if we have any questions, email jplows@brookfieldcsd.org. Now, how are we going to pull this off? One of the more difficult areas is transportation. So we've been working on some scenarios to get our students here. And obviously, if we're bringing more students in on the school buses, that makes physically distancing the students on the school buses much more difficult. So we have developed a plan, and every parent, every family in the school district should have received an email from me either earlier this week or sometime outlining what we've had to change on the school buses as far as pickup times for their students. So here's the plan. On the school bus, the students will continue to wear their mask. On the school bus, we will group family groups together. Therefore, if you're in the same family, you're in the same household, you can sit together on a school bus. In addition, we have some students in our school who go to a friend's house for childcare after school or before school, or are in the households together quite frequently. So those parents have reached out to us and says, hey, student Jones and student Smith are together. They're like family members all the time together. So it's okay with us if they sit together on a school bus. So those students are also grouped together on a school bus, which allows us to have more kids on the school bus at a single time. But even doing all of that, when all of our students return to school on Friday, we could not get all of them on a school bus at once. So what we've had to do is we've broken all of our local routes down into 2 phases. Basically, they'll run the route until their school bus reaches capacity, and we know where that is. And then they will not pick up the remaining students on that route. They will come to school. They will let those students off. They will then leave the bus circle, go to the bus garage, and we have a disinfectant spray that's approved for COVID that spray on the seats of the school bus, and that spray dries in 30 seconds and disinfects the school bus. So they drop their first group of students off here at the school, go to the school bus, spray down their bus, head down the road, and pick up the remaining students that ride on their school bus. Those remaining students live very close to the school. So that we're anticipating that once that bus leaves the bus circle, it will be probably in some cases 10 minutes, in all cases less than 15 minutes. They will be back here unloading the rest of the students. Let's see. So, as said in the email, how that works for Laura's bus, bus 82. She will pick up all of her students, drop them off, except for the ones on the second run. The ones on the second run will be the students who live on Church Street and on Academy Road. So we should plan for those students not to get picked up until approximately 10 to 15 minutes, closer to 10 minutes later than they normally would. Same situation for Jason's bus 74. The students on Stamford Road and Academy Road will get picked up 10 to 15 minutes later than they normally would. Jonah's bus 87, the students on Beaver Creek Road, The Lane, and Bliven Road will get picked up 10 to 15 minutes later than they normally would. Allen's bus, bus 81, the students on Main Street and Fairground Road will get picked up 10 to 15 minutes later than they normally would. And remember, this starts this Friday. Okay.
Jim, could I ask a question?
Yep.
So with the way that's outlined, there's really no way that parents know until after this happens when their kid is actually getting picked up, correct?
When?
Right. Like, so for example, the students that are in the district right now, Monday through Friday, they have their pickup times on those runs.
Yeah.
Is this second run for the kids that have been added as of Friday, or how's that?
The second run is for the kids, excuse me, it's for the students who live on those streets.
Okay.
So to use, I'm not going to throw all the students' name, but let's just use a student who's been coming to school on a regular basis that lives on Stambro Road. So if that student has been getting picked up at 7:20 in the morning, well, it's probably like Stambro Road, probably like 7:25 in the morning. On Friday, that student will get picked up closer to between 7:35 and 7:40. So whatever time the students on those roads that were listed, and I listed that in the email, any student who lives on those roads listed will get picked up 10 to 15 minutes later than they previously were. So that's a good point. So if there's a student who's been on remote only learning, and you don't know what time the bus has been going by your house in the morning, please call us and we'll tell you what time the bus will be there Friday morning. We'll look at that list. That's a very short list. So this is where I should remember when I read what another school district said, they're doing something just like we are doing. And in their communication to their parents, they communicated just like we did. They said something to the effect, please bear with us as we work the kinks out of this process. This is not going to go as smooth as silk on Friday. Things have been going pretty smooth. I don't want to jinx this, but there's so many moving parts of this that it's not, there's going to be some kinks. So please be patient, and we will get through this on Friday. We'll learn from how it goes on Friday, and we'll be better on Monday. We'll be better than that on Tuesday, etc. That's one thing we've learned through this public health crisis is we need to be patient, and we need to try our best and understand that mistakes are going to occur. I'm going to make them, other people are going to make them, and things that we just didn't anticipate are going to occur, and we'll do our absolute best to react to them and make this as painless as possible. Okay, so that's what happens as far as transportation in the morning. We'll talk about transportation in the afternoon, and then we'll come back and start talking about what happens with the students when they walk through these doors in the morning. So in the afternoon, we're still going to have these 2 bus runs. So every bus will drop off a group of students, and then once those students are dropped off, come back to the bus garage, sanitize their bus, come back to the school, and pick up their second group of students and then take them home. How we have this designed right now is not our preference, but because of other obstacles, we had to design it this way. And on the surface, I'll be honest with you, it makes no sense. But it's other obstacles that force us to do this right now. We hope to overcome those obstacles in the next few days or next week and actually make an afternoon run that on the surface makes more sense. So here's how we have to do this. The first run in the afternoon that the local buses are going to make. So Laura, Jason, Jonah, and Alan, bus 82, bus 74, bus 87, and bus 81. When they leave the school at the normal time in the afternoon, they are going to take the students who live farthest from the district home first. We would prefer it didn't work that way, but as I said, other obstacles are requiring us to do that right now. So those students will board the buses. We've been dismissing about 2:30 every day. We may be able to move that up a few minutes, but there's other issues that prevent us from doing that. They will board at 2:30, the buses will leave. Those students will be dropped off at home, the buses will come back, sanitized, back in the bus circle, and the students on the second run in the morning will be on the second run in the afternoon. They will then board the buses and be taken home. Here's the issue. Because we're taking the students that live farthest first, those buses won't be back here for 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the route. So in that 20 to 30 minutes, those students will be kept here in the school building. So those students will arrive home 20 to 30 minutes later. Again, those students are the students who live on Church Street and Academy Road, Stamper Road and Academy Road, Beaver Creek Road, Delane and Bliven Road, Main Street and Fairground Road. So if a parent says, well, this doesn't make sense, my kid or my student only lives a 2-minute walk from school, and they're old enough and mature enough to walk down the sidewalk in that 2 minutes, and you would like that to happen, you need to send a note with them to school or call the school district office and tell us that. Okay, but for students who, or if a parent wants to come and pick them up, please tell us that and we'll make that happen. Okay. That sums it up. So, thinking aloud, afternoon pickup for students. We have a group of students whose parents come and pick them up every single day. And thank you, parents, for your patience and cooperation. I gotta say that that does work smooth as silk. And our staff here really have it figured out. They have the system figured out, and I can't believe how smooth that goes. But it goes at because one, our staff, they know what they're doing, but the parents have been extremely patient, and they wait for our buses to leave, and they pull into the bus circle. Works great. So right now, we will continue to do that just as it has been done, because those students will be in their vehicles and gone long before that second bus comes back, that second route comes back. But in the morning, we can't do that. We have parents who pull in the circle after our buses leave in the morning. They will no longer be able to do that. They're going to have to stop in front of the school and let their students either exit on the passenger side of their vehicle or pull across and park in the faculty parking lot. Just park right behind the cars that are there. Those people are here, they're not leaving. Park right behind the vehicles that are there and escort your children across the road. Because if we pull in the bus circle in the mornings like we have been, it's going to create an issue, because those other school buses on their second run are going to be pulling right back in here in a few minutes, and we're going to have a mess. So thank you for your cooperation on that. Okay, so now it's time to take a sip of water. So now the way it's been working is students come in the building in the morning, they get their temperature checked. The parents have filled out the health questionnaire through Parent Square in the morning. And so the students get their temperatures checked again as they come through the door. They grab their bag, breakfast, and they go to their classroom. So that's okay. When they get to their classroom, the way it was, they were 6 feet apart. Obviously don't have their mask on. They're able to eat their breakfast. Now with the seating at 3 feet apart, what's going to have to happen is students come through the door, temperature check, they grab their breakfast. Some of those students are going to their classrooms. Others are going to the gymnasium. The gymnasium is set up with tables for students to eat at. But we can't have all of those students go to their classrooms and eat, because they will only be 3 feet apart. And the current guidance tells us if they have their mask off, they need to be 6 feet apart. So internally, we've got that pretty much figured out. There's going to be some kinks, but we'll react to it and make adjustments Friday morning. If we end up with a classroom who have students sitting too close together, then some students are going to have to get up, go to an assigned place in the gymnasium with the other students and have their breakfast. We know that's going to occur, but it's a pretty simple solution. Part 2 is all of the students on the second run, when they get dropped off, all of those students, when they grab their breakfast in the morning, will go to the gymnasium to eat. So we think we have the desk arranged so that it'll work pretty smooth. You know, there'll be, oops, we missed that one. Let's go to the gymnasium and eat your breakfast there. Once we do this once or twice, then everybody will have it down and it will work pretty smoothly based on what we've seen here so far this year. Similar situation at lunchtime. So all the students have been eating their lunches in their classrooms. In order to maintain this 6-foot spacing with the desk going 3 feet apart, some students are going to have to go to the gymnasium and eat their lunch. Okay. We've got some rooms set up that are overflow. We think we can handle all the students that need to do this in the gymnasium. We think it's set up so they'll fit. If they don't, we have a plan B. All right. I think that covers it as a summary. I'm going to look to Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith, did I forget anything?
I would just add, when the students are eating meals in the gym, they'll be sitting at the same table, at the same chair for both meals. They'll be labeled, so there won't be any students who will have the opportunity to sit anywhere else. So we have a game plan for that to make sure everyone has their own seat for both meals for the duration of the school year.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mrs. Scully, anything to weigh in on there?
No, Jim, I think you hit it.
Okay, thank you. Well, that sums it up. We look forward to all the students being back here in person Monday morning, showing up here at 7:30 and taking it from there. If you have any questions, you can email me anytime. You can call the district office and ask to be put through to my extension, or they'll find me in the building and we can chat about things. We know we're not perfect. We know this isn't the perfect plan, but we're really striving with our students' health and safety as being our #1 priority, and continue to provide a very good education in this public health crisis. So thank you to everybody out there. And this kind of ends our discussion on our reopening plan modifications. And I'll turn this over to the president of the school board, Bernie Whitaker, to start our regular meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, we had our pledge of allegiance the last meeting, so was that April 14th, 2021 regular meeting of the Board of Education is called to order at 7:55 by me. First order of business is consent agenda. Resolved, the Board of Education approves the consent agenda consisting of the approval of warrants, minutes. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Made motion. Second?
Second.
Valerie is seconded. Discussion? There's no discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor, so signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Next is communications, renouncements, additions, or amendments to the agenda. Resolved, the Board of Education approves the agenda for the April 14th, 2021 meeting as presented or amended. That motion.
Make a motion.
John made the motion. Second.
Second.
Valerie is seconded. I believe we do have a executive session for personnel and contract. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Next is communication with the board president. I don't have any. Communication with our principal.
Good evening. So I have an update on our skills recovery program that we talked about at our last board meeting. We originally planned to hold a 5-week skill recovery program during the summer for a select group of our students. But after we talked with students and teachers and families, we felt it would be in our students' best interest if we didn't extend their school year. So instead, the last 5 weeks of the school year is going to be dedicated to concentrating on the essential standards that the teachers weren't able to fully cover over the course of the school year. And with the majority of our students returning on Friday, 5 days per week, our faculty will really be able to work with all of our students on skills recovery and to be able to better prepare them for next school year. So about 5 weeks with the school year left, we won't present any new material. We'll just really concentrate on those essential standards that will be important for our students in their next grade level. We're also planning a pre-kindergarten and kindergarten summer program. So it'd be during the month of August, students entering pre-K and kindergarten will have the opportunity to spend 2 weeks at BCS with their teachers. And during that time, the students will participate in fun learning activities. They'll become acclimated to their classroom procedures, and just get to know the building. And this will also give our teachers the opportunity to screen these students so they can better plan for the school year and assess where the students are currently with their learning. And we also, so this is something that just kind of, we started planning for the senior class. They're going to have 2 fundraisers in May, and the funds for these events will go toward the senior class dinner. They haven't decided on a location yet, but as soon as we have finalized plans for the fundraisers, we'll make sure that we put it out on our website and Facebook and Parent Square. But right now they have planned a half chicken barbecue that'll be at the school where Saturday, May 15th. And then we're putting together 3 different gift baskets, and we'll have a raffle for that. And that will be May 24th. Last for me, just a reminder, we have our state testing that starts next Tuesday. That will be ELA. And then our math state assessments for 3 through 8 will be May 3rd through the 10th. Any questions for me?
Ms. Smith, I have a question for you.
Okay.
I've had a few parents ask me about the option to not have their children take the state test and how the district would prefer to be notified about opting out.
So we like to have something in writing from the parent. It can be an email, just something that we can have on file. And if they can say if it's both exams or just one, we would need to know that as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Carrie, could you talk to us for a moment about any changes that may have been made to the state test in light of the pandemic?
So typically the tests are a 2-day test. The states reduced it to 1 day, and they've given the districts an option to take the second day. We didn't opt, so our students will just take 1 day of an ELA test and 1 day of a math test. They said that they've shortened the test, but I don't know how many questions. They haven't said how many questions will be on it, but they've taken out all the field test questions, which those are the questions that they kind of experimental questions that they might put on exams in future years. So it'll be a shortened test. It's still on time. Students will have as much time as they need. This year, for the first time, students will take the test on the computer. They've all gone through a tutorial, and they went through a similar tutorial last year. So we felt this would be a good year to kind of experiment with the computer-based testing before New York State goes computer-based for all 3 through 8 exams.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. Anything else? Okay, how about communications for our district clerk?
I have none.
Okay, thank you. Communications for our superintendent.
So I just want to follow up on Valerie's question and Carrie's answer related to the state test. And if people are considering not having their students take those tests, I would encourage those parents to give Ms. Smith a call and just talk it through. She's not going to try to talk people into changing their mind, but she will provide information in more detail than she's able to do at a board meeting, and have an honest discussion about the test and about the student. And she knows our students very, very well. And I got to be honest with you, in the past, once or twice I have looked at a parent and said, if I was your child's parent, they would not be taking the test. Only once or twice in the years I've been here, but it was unique situations. So I think that, I don't know that there's any student I would say, the parent I would say that to in the district right now. have to have a conversation with them. I think all information is good, and Ms. Smith will be able to provide more information to each individual parent.
I've also advised those parents that came to me to even reach out to their child's teacher, because I'm sure that they can answer any questions too of those changes that have been made to help make that decision.
Right.
Too, before just saying, well, I'm going to opt out due to the pandemic.
Right.
I just don't feel it's time for my kids to take that test, so.
As Ms. Smith said, they have reduced it from 2 days to 1, but we don't know, whether they actually reduce the number of questions by 50% or 80% of what they've done. We haven't seen that stuff. Okay, good. All right.
All right,
You think I'm done already, Bernie?
well, I was
You're just hoping.
just hoping, yeah. I was gonna take this opportunity to cut you short.
So here we go. So Ms. Smith talked a little bit about some raffles coming up for fundraisers for the senior class, so that we can hopefully, if the public health conditions continue to allow, we can have them experience at least some of the traditional senior class activities. So in that regard, we've also been working on plans for graduation. And a week or two or more ago, we rented a tent with the capacity to hold 200 people that we're going to set up on the soccer field for a graduation ceremony. The reason for that was, at that time, the guidelines said for a graduation ceremony in the gymnasium, we'd only be able to have 50 people in the gymnasium. But the guidelines at that time, and as of yesterday, said, however, if you have an outdoor ceremony, you can have 200 people attend. So we figured we better run a tent while there's still tents available. So we have one, and we have a plan to hold graduation outside with 200 people in attendance. Today, New York State Department of Health issued new guidelines for graduation ceremonies. And so they actually came out this morning, looked at the headlines, the summary really quick, but have not had time to read them. Definitely will probably read them in the next few hours, so that we can see what has changed and react accordingly. Okay. Next, our sports teams have been playing soccer. It's been fun and interesting to watch the kids out there and playing again. And soccer ends this week. Next week starts baseball and softball. Okay, so moving on, 2021-2022 school budget. So the state adopted their budget last week. It was several days late, but I've always said I prefer a good budget instead of a quick budget. But given it was just adopted last week, and given all the complications that the pandemic has thrown at us, there's a lot that has to be analyzed in that state budget that we just have not completed yet. There's a federal stimulus part that has allocated to Brookfield Central School in excess of $1 million to be used over a period of years. And we just need more time to analyze that. And to be honest with you, on the federal money greater than $1 million, there's very little guidance out there right now as to what would be allowable to be for that money to be used for. There is some guidance, but very little guidance. And I attended a webinar on Friday And the presenters even said that they really don't know much about what's going to be allowed to be used for this $1 million or excess of $1 million. But as time goes on, the federal government and the state government will issue written guidelines, and we will incorporate that information into our budget and make the necessary adjustments. So having said that, it looks like we are going to meet next week, Tuesday, the 20th, and we will mainly discuss next year's budget at that meeting. Okay. Well, Mr. Whitaker, that's all I have.
Sure.
Shortest discussion ever.
Okay, resident participation is the next order of business.
Okay, so I do not have any emails.
Old business, new business, okay. Personnel acceptance of resignation. Resolved the Board of Education on recommendation superintendent hereby accepts the resignation of Mr. Dana Cross, school bus driver, effective March 16, 2021, as with regret. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Tom made a motion, second.
Second,
Aria seconded, discussion.
So Dana was with us for quite a few years, more years than I realized. And he just thought it was time to retire and relax and in his second retirement. Did a great job while I was here.
Okay, great. No further discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? Okay, personnel appointment. Resolve the Board of Education upon recommendation superintendent approves the appointment of Jamie Riley to the position of boys varsity baseball coach for the 2021 spring season. Such appointments are contingent upon each coach obtaining all necessary clearance set forth by the Commissioner of Education prior to the first day of practice. Salary for this position is as per BTA contract. Motion.
Make a motion.
Don has a motion, second.
second,
Valerie seconded, discussion.
Okay, so this discussion applies to this resolution appointing Jamie Riley as the baseball coach, and then to the resolution that's next appointing Wendy Rogers as the softball coach. You may remember a couple of meetings ago, we appointed them baseball and softball coach respectively at a daily rate. That was because at that point in time, we really weren't sure where we were going with sports, but we knew that we could run safe softball and baseball practices inside the gym, given there was 2 foot of snow on our fields. So we got an early start on baseball and softball and paid Jamie and Wendy at a daily rate. Now it's time for the season to begin. Things are going well, so we are going to have a season from here through the rest of the school year. So now they'll be paid in accordance with our contracts. I just wanted to, in case you're sitting there saying, didn't we do this already? That's why there's another set of resolutions.
Okay, very good. Any further discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Next is personnel appointment. Resolve the Board of Education upon recommendation. Superintendent approves the appointment of Wendy Rogers to the position of girls varsity baseball coach for 2021 spring season. Such appointments are contingent upon each coach obtaining all necessary terms set forth by the Commissioner of Education prior to the first day of practice. Salary for this position is as per the BTA contract. Motion.
I make a motion.
Don made the motion, second.
second,
Valerie seconded, discussion.
Yeah, that should be softball coach, not baseball coach.
Okay. Any further discussion? No discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, appointment of repair and safety approval of repair and safety project. Change order results in Board of Education on the recommendation of superintendent approves the general construction change order of JC 13 for Renee Building Contractors Incorporated dated December 8, 2020, deducting $26,442 from the contingency allowance, leaving the contingency allowance balance of 0, and decreasing the contract sum $26,442. And it further resolved that the Board of Education has authorized President of the board to sign the change order. Have a motion.
Make a motion.
Don made a motion, second.
Second.
Valerie is second. So we're running short of money over that. So we. All right. Got a motion, and okay, if no further discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote. I think you're done over there.
That's all, are they?
Yeah. What I heard. Approval of participation in RIC bids with non-general fund dollars. You know, explain what that is, Jim, please. RIC bids. Result, Board of Education on the recommendation of the superintendent approves the following resolution, whereas it is the plan of a number of public school districts in Madison County, Madison, Osage, and the BOCES during 2021-2022 school year to bid jointly for the purchase of various types of computers and technology commodities. And whereas the Brookfield Central School District is desirous of participating in a joint bidding of the commodities as authorized by the general municipal law. Whereas the Board of Education has received and reviewed the cooperative bid process and procedures governing its right and responsibilities. Should it elect to participate in joint bidding of the commodities, and be it further resolved that in accordance with the cooperative bid procedure, the Board of Education agrees to award bid purchase items purchased according to the recommendation of the BOCES. In such award is the best interest of the school district. And motion.
Make a motion.
Don made a motion, second.
Second.
Valerie, second. Discussion.
So this is a motion that we have to do every year that allows us to take advantage of the BOCES bid process.
No further discussion. We'll vote. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's good there. Executive session. Resolve the Board of Education under executive session for the purpose of personnel and contract at 8:16. A motion.
Make a motion.
Don made a motion, second.
Second.
Valerie, second. Discussion. No discussion, we'll vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Both. Okay.
Okay,
Yes, sir. Approval.